Hey guys, Dezz Asante here again from the Tech Muse Academy for mixlessons.com. Today's quick tip comes inspired again by a fellow member of the Gear Sluts forums. If you don't hang out there already, I think you should strongly consider it. It's a great resource of information, a lot of chit chat going flying around of all different people of all different skill levels. So you'll have access to folks just getting into it, perhaps like yourself. You'll have access to folks that do this professionally, and for notable artists as well that hang out in the Gear Sluts forums. So check it out. This question comes from member Speaker's Moon, and Speaker's Moon writes in, "Hey guys, I know that this subject was all over the internet, but unfortunately I'm still having a hard time knowing how to choose a sound card for electronic music. What are the steps for choosing a sound card for mainly deep house music production? What should I be looking for exactly? There's so many sound cards out there that it doesn't make things easier. I'm willing to pay up to 200 euros for it. Would that be enough for a good one? And would I have better luck with a USB sound card or Firewire?" He uses a Reason and Ableton Live, and he's got some KRK monitor speakers, and so he's interested in knowing about how to choose a sound card, how to choose your audio interface. The term sound card is kind of dated because, as you're probably well aware, they're not cards anymore, at least not most of what's on the market today. But it's a good question, and it's a good place to begin, I would say, is by determining what type of audio acquisition chain you're going to need in terms of how many inputs and outputs and at what quality you're able to budget for. Now this member is saying that the style of music is that he's into is house music, deep house, electronic music, trance, these types of things. So my first question would be, are you generating your arrangements entirely through software instruments? Is there, do you utilize any vocals, any live instruments, acoustic instruments, keyboards, guitars, anything like that? If you're doing everything from within the computer, it's all instrumental, there's no need for a microphone at all, then your choices open up a little because you don't have to concern yourself with mic preamps and the number of analog inputs. So if that's the case, I might suggest something like the Apogee Duet, which is a Mac product. So if you're a PC user, then which you didn't mention in your post, then that might not be an option. If you are a PC user, or a Mac for that matter, another very, very good quality audio interface is the Babyface from RME. Now, these are a little bit above the 200 euro price point. I believe, I don't know exactly what the conversion rate is at this point in time, but I believe the Babyface is about $800 Canadian, which is close to US dollars as well at this point in time anyway. I think the Apogee Duet is about $600, and again, that's a Mac product. It won't run on a PC, on a Windows environment. But the reason I suggest those is because they are very, very high quality in the two critical components in an interface, and that is your mic preamps and your analog to digital and vice versa, digital to analog converters. Both Apogee and RME have fantastic reputations in the industry for both of those things, in particular the converters. The quality though, like in most cases, you pay for. Now, if you're not able to spend that much money, the quality of even the sort of quote-unquote entry-level items is still very high, so it's not going to hold you back a great deal in creating great music, presuming, of course, that you have this technical know-how, the skills in terms of audio engineering to make that happen. That's what sort of separates the men from the boys, quote-unquote, nowadays, is your technical prowess, not so much how much money you can afford to spend on your gear. As it was not long ago, a couple decades ago, that was the big differentiating factor between the big studio sound and the sort of home studio, Tascam Porta-Studio cassette tape type recorded sound that we dealt with if you were anything like me. So again, your acquisition chain is primarily, when it concerns your interface, is your mic preamps and your analog to digital converters. So essentially you want to get the best AD/DA converters that your budget permits, and you want to get the best mic pre's and the amount of them that you will need. For example, if you're recording live musicians, drummers in particular, and you need to be able to slap 7 or 8 mics on a drum kit, then of course that implies that you're going to need 7 or 8 holes to plug those mics into. And those preamps should definitely be included in the interface interface. The alternative approach is to use an external mixer, plug your mics in, and then send the stereo output into your interface, which is also a viable option. However, you then lose the ability to mix those microphones independently when you reach your mix phase. So you end up with having to pre-mix those drums, for example, get them sounding absolutely perfect before you hit record, because once you hit record, you're left with just a stereo track. So you want those inputs to be on your audio interface. So that's the other thing to consider. In this gentleman's case, if you're doing all electronic instrumental music, it might not be a big concern, but a lot of us do record live instruments, and especially if you're recording multiple musicians at once or miking a drum kit, then you're going to need multiple microphone preamps, analog inputs into the interface. So those are the three things to consider: the number of inputs or mic preamps, the quality of those mic preamps, and the quality of your analog to digital to analog converters. If you've got those three things in check, you're going to have a fantastic audio interface on your hands, and you'll be able to capture very, very great quality sounds. What you do with those afterwards is a whole other story. So I hope that helps to sort of at least give you some criteria to go by. Couple of strong recommendations. I think if you're on a tight budget and you have maybe $100 or so, maybe 200 max to spend, the stuff that Steinberg is putting out right now, the CI1, the CI2, and the CI2 Plus are quite nice. They also get you into a copy of Cubase if you need some software to use for your recording. Those are all USB devices. Another thing to consider is Firewire. Now, Firewire is kind of being phased out at this point in time. It's still a great option, typically a little more expensive, and not all computers support Firewire, so that's something to consider. There's no huge, massive difference anymore between performance or audio quality of Firewire versus USB. Some say that still, latency is a little higher potentially with USB, but nowadays that's pretty much a non-issue as well, because processors are very, very fast, and so we're able to set our input to output buffer size very, very small to get a great latency performance, because our systems can keep up. 10 years ago or so, the computers weren't as fast, and that was much more of an issue. No longer really the case. So I wouldn't concern yourself too much with Firewire versus USB. It's more about that acquisition chain. Number of inputs, quality of mic pre's, and quality of conversion from analog to digital and back. So hopefully that helps, and we'll see you on the next quick tip.